Good afternoon, everyone. Chinese farm fields look like American farm fields. Bridges collapsing because of the massive floods. More rain on tap in the U.S. to decimate U.S. agriculture further. It's snowing in Colorado, but the Loch Ness Monster appears in the Arkansas floods. And during these uncertain times, I've teamed up with Patriot Supply long-term food storage. A nice, affordable starter kit. 2-week food supply, 1,500 calories per day, breakfast, lunch, and dinners, plus the 4-gallon storage containers included in that. This is a good first step in getting more self-sufficient. And if you click through the Prepare with ADAPT 2030 page in Patriot Supply, you can get this starter kit for $75. Please remember there's a limit of 2 per household in this special offer. Going to start you off here with a thought of the day as Bitcoin approaches 11,000 US dollars. People are on the defense already saying, well, it uses so much electricity to mine the Bitcoin. Well, I'm going to ask you, how much electricity will it cost to put out the 5G grid with every single tower requiring 2 cooling systems below it because they're running at such high wattage? Probably about 50 times more than what will be used for Bitcoin. But it's all good. You can get faster internet. Thought of the day, do your own research about the cooling boxes below the 5G towers. On to the floods in China. Now, I know a lot of you can't really get Chinese media, so I'm going to bring you what's happening with the flood conditions across the southern part of China in their grow zones as well. The floodwaters are so ferocious and so heavy. This is the aftermath. Collapsing interstate bridges as well with their floodwaters like we saw in Oklahoma. Zoom in on that for you there. It's making the rounds across Chinese social media. Highways inundated with flood and mud. Finally getting to the cleanup point here. That's why the story was re-aired, that they're finally opening the roads. What? That's the 14th, 15th, almost 7 days after it took them to clear the debris away with the landslides on one single stretch of road. Now, the floods are all encompassing. There's more than 3.5 million people that had to move because of flooding, and this is just an example of what's in the farmlands in the countryside of these massive floods sweeping through. These are normally creeks that you're looking at here, nowhere remotely close to what you're seeing in the water volume. And when I say all-encompassing, it looks exactly like the scenes we saw out of Oklahoma when the floods occurred there that have turned into the worst planting season in American history. A view of greenhouses here in China for you, vegetable production. I wonder how bad it could get when you have millions and millions of people needing to be evacuated because of floods in farm country. This is the result. So how do you think their farm fields are going to turn out this year? They already had the devastation from the armyworm. Now they have the devastating floods. And I thought, well, how big and how wide and all-encompassing are these floods here? So I went to flood list. So far, they're looking at 8 provinces. We got Jiangxi, Guangxi, Guizhou, Zhejiang, Fujian, Hunan, Guangdong, Chongqing. That's its own municipality out there. And the numbers kept growing from this point. Then it was 5 million people affected. Then it was 8 million people. And they just really don't know how many people are affected now, but it's in the tens of millions. So think about that for a moment. If the seriousness of the floods were that all-encompassing in the United States, and now we have the same thing in China, how many crops are they going to lose? And their flood event started on June 10th, and it's still ongoing, and they're expecting more rain. And when I say more rain, I am talking nearly tropical moisture, downpouring rain. They're expecting 5 inches more of rain over the crop-growing zones. And then looking across some of the media headlines just a week ago here, biggest rainstorm, southeast provinces, you can get a glimpse of what the flooding looks like there. Especially that top right picture. That's kind of what it looks like everywhere in the countryside. And we saw the very same thing in Oklahoma. And then with that being said, let's transit over to the states. Indiana and Ohio and Illinois. How many more inches is that yellow there? Well, between 4 and 5 inches, exactly the same amount that China's about to receive. And then when we saw some of these images coming out of the Arkansas flood, which the greater mainstream media really didn't pick up on, they said, oh, there's a flood here, a couple levees collapsed over there. Nope, it was like this over our farm fields. And of course, with a sense of humor, somebody put the Loch Ness Monster in the Arkansas floods. So if you do see this, make sure you take a couple photos, send it to me, and I will happily post it here for you. From a month ago, Climate Central, they're going to have to update this. And, for Arkansas, Indiana, Illinois, they're going to have to put a big, huge green spot there now. That map needs to be updated. And, oh, the coloration is going to change like a dark evergreen Christmas tree. And speaking of that, the humor's all around. You got to have some humor during these crop losses because they're the biggest ever recorded. Life vests on the corn. When we saw floods like that. Hold on, it reminds me of Gilligan's Island. And snow would be a thing of the past right here in summertime. Snows Colorado, all the way to British Columbia. Your children will never know what snow is. Oh, except for summer snow. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of the video. Join me on steemit.com/adapt2030, where I'm putting all of these videos in a written format on the blockchain. So you can look back at the data yourself and see the step-by-step as we're entering into this new grand solar minimum.